Hi lads, I'm your host, Kebab, and I speak to you from the inside of a cupboard. Or what you Americans like to call a closet. So, why am I here? Well, you see, Nintendo fans don't really like it when you talk shit about Mario 64. So I think I'm gonna hide here for the rest of the video. This mic isn't even plugged in.
Mario 64 and Mario Odyssey, two of the best Mario games to ever be brought into concrete matter. These games are each special for their own reasons. Mario 64, the first 3D Mario game, and one of the most influential games to grace this planet. And Mario Odyssey. It's the first HD 3D Mario game on a portable. That's something. Today we've got 5 sections once again. Gameplay, music, controls, level design, and impact. Yeah, cause I'd be fucked if I ever needed to cover a Mario game story again. And with that calamity-filled thesaurus of an intro done, let's get this versus started. Yeah, this would be a tough one. Now of course there's over 20 years between these two, and some may argue, hey, this isn't a fair comparison. But the thing is, Mario 64 is often called the best 3D Mario game, and thus if it's put on such a pedestal, I think it has the right to be challenged for that title. Mario 64 is an incredible game. It was the first 3D Mario game, adding buttloads of innovations in its gameplay. Of course, it's the normal scenario of Bowser kidnapping Peach, with Mario diving in headfirst to rescue her through 15 worlds, which I'll cover in more detail in a separate category. Our hub here is Peach's castle. Yeah, it's exactly as the name suggests. We've got a bit to explore here, like the moat. However, the real fun begins when we jump into the paintings inside the castle's walls. The name of the game here, collect 120 stars, although not all are necessary, and fight Bowser. The way we get these stars is done in a variety of ways, although one common to every world is collecting 8 red coins. These stars range in difficulty, with some being pretty tough to find on your first time round. The health system comes in the form of this 8-sided circle, and we regain health by collecting coins. The game's difficulty varies a lot. It's definitely more difficult than Odyssey, but it is manageable. Except the enemies. Is it just me, or are the enemies in this game the least threatening of any Mario game? Like sure, they've never really been hard to kill, but in 64 they don't even try to get you. In fact, the stages themselves pose more of a threat to you, like this bullshit fucking ice water. Boss battles aren't much better. None of these pose any threat in my opinion. And if you die against any of these guys, yeah, you're bad. Besides that, 64 is incredibly fun. However, it is edging on the linear side of things, at least in comparison with Odyssey. It's very much a case of, get this star, get the next star. And yeah, you can grab them in different orders, but it doesn't really feel like as much of an open world sandbox like Odyssey is. Unlike Mario 64, Odyssey has no hub world. Instead we have the Odyssey, a magical flying thing that transports us between each world and is powered by moons, this game's version of Mario 64 stars. Of course, the most notable feature here is that we have no power-ups, instead being replaced by Cappy, with his ability to capture and use the powers of certain creatures, enemies, and trees. When I first played this game, I thought this feature wouldn't work nearly as well as power-ups, but thankfully I was proven wrong, and Cappy's capture ability adds so much more depth and variety to gameplay, whether it's using him to make a Goomba tower, go fishing as Lamode, or even control Bowser. The possibilities are unlimited. You have 3 hit points here like in Galaxy, however unlike that game, we have unlimited lives, as when you die, you simply lose coins. Speaking of coins, these things can be used to buy costumes in the item shop, and customization for the Odyssey. In terms of enemies, of course we got the Goombas, Bullet Bills, Koopa Troopas, alongside newbies like the Sherm, Uproot and Pokio, all of which can be captured and used. Boss battles are a lot better than 64, making use of the capture ability either using a captured enemy or capturing part of a boss, such as Nucleotech's Fist. And of course the the Broodals, who are this game's Koopalings.
So, which game is better?
I'm sorry 64 fans, but it has to be Odyssey. 64 is very fun, albeit frustrating at times, and although it is a sandbox, there's nowhere near as much to discover and do here. I will say if you're going into this just to complete the games, 64 may be more your thing, but the fact that you can virtually complete the game whatever way you want in Odyssey just gives it the edge here. Music in both of these games is incredibly prevalent, and key to the overall experience. Mario Odyssey has some absolutely stellar, booming tracks, all fit in the mood of each world. The overwhelming energy in the Cascade Kingdom's theme, the serene and calming theme of the Lake Kingdom, and the bustling nature of the Metro Kingdom theme. All give a clear-cut representation of what each kingdom is like. Mario 64 on the other hand has much fewer tracks, but by god are these amazing. Mario 64 has one of the most iconic soundtracks in gaming. Peach's Castle theme, Bob-omb Battlefield's theme, and of course Slide. Everyone knows these tracks, and although yes there are less of them, I think 64 is the better selection overall. Odyssey has a great soundtrack, and has more songs, but a lot of these for me aren't nearly as memorable. It has some amazing songs, but every song on the Mario 64 soundtrack is bound to get stuck in your head. Mario 64 revolutionised how 3D games should control, or at the very least how a 3D Mario game should control. This game's moveset still shocks me to this day, and how they managed to fit this many movement options into it. Well, first off, we can now move in every direction. Jump, punch, grab, crouch, and swim. These controls work largely flawlessly, although I did have a problem with the grab a few times. However, the advanced movements are the star of the show here. The wall jump, triple jump, long jump, ground pound are all new moves here, and add an even deeper level of platforming to this game. However, they aren't flawless. This game can be sluggish and oftentimes doesn't do what you tell it to do. It could just be me being bad at the game, but for me, it was pretty frustrating at times. Oh yeah, and the camera is terrible, and a lot of times there's no real option to fix it. Odyssey brings back all these movesets and even more with the introduction of Cappy. Cappy again adds another layer of platforming to the game, alongside allowing us to use captures, something I already discussed in gameplay. The ability to use Cappy to save yourself from certain death isn't easy, but once you master the controls and combos, Mario is a platforming god. Alongside this game is probably one of the smoothest controlling Mario games ever. It's accurate to a T, so when you do die, you can't blame it on the game, like in 64. The camera is also miles superior to Mario 64's, and that to me is the final thing I needed to give Odyssey the win. Yes, 64 did create a lot of these controls, but Odyssey not only does them better, but also adds more on top of it all. Mario 64 has 15 worlds in all different shapes and sizes, and all of which are held in incredibly high regard by anyone who loves this game. Each world has multiple different stars to collect in a variety of different ways, defeating bosses, finding secrets, or simply getting to the top of a level. Just running around in the levels as well is fun, there's no denying that, and all of which are fun and unique sandboxes to explore, each with unique gimmicks. Tiny Huge Island, you can switch between big and small, Wet Dry World where the water levels shift, and Tick-Tock Clock. You're inside a clock, what else is there to say? My gripes? Repetition. A few worlds have repeated themes. Not all, but there's 2 snow worlds and 2 water worlds. It's not a huge deal, and these worlds do have their differences, but personally I don't see a huge difference between them, and would have preferred 2 different themes instead. Odyssey's worlds on the other hand, well, they look great. Now I'm not going to put a huge emphasis on appearance here. There was 20 years between these games. Obviously Odyssey is going to look better, but it is still something to note. Mario Odyssey has a lot of different themed worlds, all of which are more expansive and have a lot more to do in them than 64. Each world also includes a lot more moons than 64 had stars, and also doesn't kick you out of the level when you collect one. Notable levels here are the Wooded Kingdom, Bowser's Kingdom, a fresh new take instead of the classic lava world, and of course the Metro Kingdom, which is centre stage here. Each level has its own captures too, adding a unique way to travel around each kingdom, such as the Gushin in the Seaside Kingdom and Glide-On in the Lost Kingdom. Like 64, a theme or 2 repeats, most notably the Lake and Seaside Kingdoms, but these 2 are still different enough to be distinct from each other in my opinion. Odyssey has some smaller kingdoms that are almost too small, like the Ruined Kingdom, basically just being a boss stage, and of course the Moon and Darker Side are basically the same. However, Darker Side is made to be more of an endgame thing, whereas the Moon Kingdom is a mainline world. To say this was a close call is an understatement, but I think Odyssey just edges 64 here. And I can already hear the hate, but hear me out. 64 has some incredibly iconic worlds, all of which are fun and a blast to traverse. But with 64, the worlds are less so worlds and more levels. You jump in, get a star, and go again. Odyssey's worlds are more so worlds, and have so much to do and explore in. You could spend hours simply jumping around, more so than in 64, and for that reason, it's Odyssey's round. Mario Odyssey was an incredible game. Coming out at the start of the Switch's life, it was one of the big reasons to buy a Switch at launch. A brand new 3D Mario game, and an incredibly good one at that. This game alongside Breath of the Wild are the two main reasons the Switch didn't pull a Wii U and flop within the first year. Yeah, but see, Mario 64 is one of the most influential games of all time. The first 3D Mario game, one of the first 3D games full stop. It helped show that it was possible to turn a 2D franchise into a 3D one. Its gameplay was revolutionary and set the tone for all Mario games going forward. Plus, it's an incredible game. Now before you all come at me, let me explain. It was incredibly difficult to decide a winner here. In fact, I considered adding multiple different categories to get the fairest result. However, in the end, I had to settle on one question. Which is the superior game? And for the most part, the answer is Odyssey. Yes, it's newer, didn't innovate as much, and doesn't nearly have the cult following of 64, but we can't let nostalgia deter us from the fact that, as a game, Odyssey is superior. Till someone proves me wrong in the comments.
So once again I speak to you from the cupboard closet thing to thank you guys for watching, and if you do disagree, that's your problem. Up next, Doom 64 and Duke Nukem 3D. Because I couldn't afford Wolfenstein.